So we talk about parasympathetics, right? We know the adrenals play a major role, and different things, obviously food, nutrition can help with that. What are some things clinically that you see with your
Yeah.
clients, or on the oil side that you can recommend to
Yeah.
nourish the adrenals?
So Titus Chu, who's a colleague and a functional neurologist,
Yeah.
which means that he's looking at what part of the brain, it was cute. At one point, I took my son to a functional neurologist, and he had all these little personality things that I thought were him, like he couldn't walk a straight line to save his life. He would like a diagonal walker. He would always spill stuff on himself. He had no spatial awareness. And it turns out his left brain was much more dominant than
Yeah.
his right hemisphere of the brain. So we have Dr. Robert Melilio, who
Yeah.
really talks about using oils to kind of balance the hemispheres and to kind of a quick parasympathetic trick. Titus Chu talks about how anxiety and panic attacks is overactivation of your right frontal lobe. And so, to kind of calm and balance that, you then activate the left frontal lobe, and that puts the two hemispheres in balance. And functional neurologists use essential oils a lot in their practice because your nose, your olfactory nerve,
Yeah.
number one, goes
Yeah.
directly to, sometimes in the body, the right brain controls the left body.
Yeah.
Your olfactory channels go directly to this frontal part.
Ipsilateral, same side.
Yeah, exactly. So you can just smell something. It can be anything you like. It can be lavender, it can be orange, it can be parasympathetic. You can actually, like ujjayi breathing, plug one nostril, smell through the left nostril. That activates the left frontal lobe, balances the brain. You feel less anxious. Anxiety is my thing, my daughter's thing too. I have panic attacks. I have all these things, and that always helps. I basically, even if I'm walking my dog, this is in my pocket in case I need it. So
That's cool.
that is my favorite quick fix.
What about high levels of cortisol? Obviously, high levels of cortisol can cause anxiety, right? So you mentioned maybe that plays a big role. Anything you do to help with the high adrenaline or high cortisol states, and then
Yeah.
do you add any like nutrients in to kind of be supportive to those oils?
I mean, there are tons of nutrients that are helpful. And, if you're able to digest, like there are a lot of adaptogenic herbs that
Yeah.
I love, like ashwagandha,
Yeah.
rhodiola. But one thing I think that oils work like adaptogenic herbs. Like one of the things, I've done those 24-hour cortisol tests where you're spitting in the tube. And
Yep.
what I found is that it's not flatline. It's not like my cortisol level is either too high all the time or too low all the time.
Yeah.
It's too high at night when I'm trying to go to sleep and too
Yes.
low in the morning when
So
I need energy.
like a reverse kind of
Exactly,
cortisol rhythm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, if you think about the nutrients that you can take, the supplements, you kind of have to time it right. Like if you're already too high and you're taking something that makes it higher, that's
Right.
not going to be such a positive experience. So with oils, we have two blends. One is the Adrenal Blend that just kind of evens you out. If you're too high, it takes you down. If you're too low, it brings you up. And
Yep.
then one for the hypothalamus. And this is something that most people don't talk about. They just assume that all cortisol is related to the adrenals, not realizing that it's a bit of a cascade, the hypothalamus pituitary axis. Your hypothalamus in your brain controls all your endocrine organs. It's constantly reading the environment and signals in your body to figure out how do we return it to balance. Like when you're driving, at one point you might be a little too far to the left, so you just course correct. Your
Right.
hypothalamus is your course corrector. And it does that by sending chemical messages to kind of the COO, the one who executes your pituitary gland, which then sends message to your thyroid, your adrenals, all of your endocrine organs. So sometimes it's called this negative feedback loop. The hypothalamus sends these messages out, then messages come back, and it kind of course corrects, like, oh, we're good on cortisol, we don't need more. And if
Exactly.
the hypothalamus is kind of overwhelmed, like my friend likes to say, you can't mow the lawn when the house is on fire.
Yeah.
If there's
Exactly.
so much going on, it can be like your phone, and it just doesn't get the right information and send things out. So we have a blend. It's hard to get things into the brain. I mean, that's
Right.
the biggest challenge and the biggest aha with oils. They're super small and fat soluble, so they cross the blood brain barrier. So we have one, it contains pine, which has a lot of research on it, but you just put it
Cool.
right here, and it's almost like it sends the right frequency, the right blueprint, whatever you want to call it, to return the hypothalamus to balance so that it's then sending better messages to the adrenals so that you're not so
Love it.
hypercortisol or hypercortisol.
That's good. Excellent.